Hello, hi, yes. Do you want to get better at Spy?
Yeah?
Well, whatever you're here for, welcome to Spy Psychology, where I'm going to do the first episode again to make it a better introduction.
Wait, what?
This is a series about learning to get better at Spy and TF2, and this is the introduction. Are you ready?
Yeah?
Then let's begin.
Let's go!
Spy is hard. Spy is hard. Spy is arguably the hardest class in the game, since he requires a lot of thought, requires you to evade and outsmart the enemy, and dies incredibly quickly when caught out. I'm telling you this because you should know that getting good at Spy will take a long time, and lots of being killed. Over, and over, and over, and over, and over, and over. Come back. Sure, you'll die a lot, but that's just the learning process. Even experienced spies such as myself can die a lot sometimes. But take each death as a learning experience. Try to figure out why you died, and use it to learn how to die less. If anyone else tries to talk you down for being bad at Spy, or just not as good as them, just know they're stupid. Ego hunters aren't worth listening to, and want to make you feel bad, so take my advice, don't listen to them.
Alright.
Also, just try avoid becoming like them. Please. You see those frag movies where a spy gets 6 trick stabs in a row? Well, you should know that these kinds of spies have a massive amount of experience, and scenarios like that aren't as common as these videos may make you believe. They're essentially a highlight reel, so don't put that expectation on yourself, or else you'll get frustrated. Because believe me, Spy can get frustrating to play. Okay, enough with Philosopher Jonto. What are the actual basics of his kit? The Spy has a bunch of tools in his arsenal, and they all serve a purpose. These are the revolver, Sapper, knife, Invis Watch, and disguise kit. Let's start off with the thing you will be causing the most problems using. The knife.
No!
The knife will instantly kill any player when hit from behind, but only 40 damage if it hits from the front. Now, the game defines the back by simply the player's back half. You'll know you can backstab when the Spy raises up his knife like this. But note, you don't need to wait for this animation before backstabbing. It just serves to help you learn the backstab hitbox. You'll start to get a feel for when you can backstab, and you'll often kill before you see the knife raising animation occur. Now, the knife sounds really cool because it can instantly kill any player, but one problem. If they're looking at you, you kind of can't backstab. Well, actually, you can do trick stabs, such as the method. Don't listen to that. If you're just starting out as Spy, you don't want to bother with that trick stabby stuff yet, okay? Just focus on learning the basics. Now, we don't really want the enemy knowing where we are, less so looking at us. So the main thing you'll want to use to get behind the enemy is your Invis Watch. Right-click at any time to cloak, turning you invisible to the enemy team over the course of a second. However, note you can't attack while cloaking or fully cloaked. Bumping into an enemy player while cloaked will make you blink, meaning you become partially invisible for a split second, so you'll want to avoid bumping into other players. The cloak lasts 10 seconds at a full charge, but your cloak can also be restored by picking up ammo, which even works while you cloak. However, be aware that people may notice disappearing health and ammo boxes. The two main purposes of your cloak is to sneak past the enemy undetected, or escape bad situations. Ideally, you'll want to avoid enemies seeing you coming. Cloak before you round a corner and don't bump into other players. Also, while cloaked, you have a 20% damage reduction, and the duration of bleeds and burns are halved. This knowledge can be very useful for getaways. Now, the other stealth tool you have is the disguise kit. Pull it out, pick a class to disguise as, and after a few seconds, you'll appear as that player to the enemy team. Do note that you take the name of a player on the other team, so players that see a clone of themselves will know you're a spy.
But everyone says disguises don't fool good players.
Ah, I see. Well... So despite what many players say, disguises can fool good players. You just need to act like the class you're disguised as, which you'll get better at with practice. But be aware that the disguise kit is not a tool for getting behind the enemy. The cloak is. Also, be aware that if you disguise right before cloaking, the disguise smoke can be seen following you. You can avoid this by starting the cloak before the disguise, as even being partially cloaked will negate the smoke entirely. You generally use disguises to avoid sticking out, and don't fool the enemy for more than a couple seconds before making your move. The disguise is used to blend in and not get shot by sentry guns. Speaking of guns, did you know that Spy has a gun? You know that scenario I mentioned before about that player looking at you? Did you know that you have a gun, and that you can shoot them with that gun? The knife isn't your only weapon. Look. I know it insta-kills, okay? But it has downsides. Using your gun is pretty basic. You point it at the enemy and shoot. It'll typically do more damage than your knife at mid to close range, and you don't have to be in melee range to use it. Also, since Spy can see the health of enemy players, you can sometimes finish off a hurt player running to a health pack. Not using your gun is a mistake I see a lot of Spies make, so be aware of that option. It'll save you a lot. Also, good advice to practice your aim sometimes, especially since the first shot is 100% accurate and the rest of them have random spread. Okay, time for a transition. Then there's this thing, the Electro Sapper. In case you don't know what it does, you simply place it on engineer buildings, which disables them and eats away at their health unless an engineer removes it by hitting it twice with his wrench. And just make sure you're disguised before sapping a sentry, or else, you know, it'll shoot you, your guts will be splattered, your pancreas will be on the ground, you'll be nothing but a puddle of red. You will never be seen again. Everyone who sees will be traumatized by this event. If they weren't already insane. Where am I going with this? The Sapper is your main tool to sabotage and take out engineer nests, since you're the only class that can stand next to a sentry without being shot. There's a lot of mind games involved with taking out an engineer's nest, depending on the skill of the engineer in question, but a good first trick to learn is the stab and sap. Wait for the engineer to stand behind a sentry. Stab him and quickly swap to your Sapper and place it on the sentry before it can turn around and shoot you. If you did this correctly, the sentry will be doomed without an engineer to remove the Sapper, and you're free to place Sappers on the rest of the buildings. Some strategies may involve sapping the sentry first, since the sentry can't shoot when it's sapped, then trying to kill or delay the engineer, or simply using it to create an opening for your teammates while the sentry is non-functional. You'll have to be creative, sometimes, to take out an engineer nest. Also, you can take enemy teleporters, which can sometimes help you get closer to the engineer. So anyway, if you're bad at Spy, don't worry, it takes time and can be frustrating, but it's a matter of patience. Your knife is how you get instant kills, your gun is your backup option if you can't backstab, use cloak to get behind the enemy, use disguises to blend in and get close to sentries, and use your Sapper to dismantle engineer buildings.
Now I know what to do.
Look at you, new player. Go out there and stab some people. Maybe shoot them with a gun and potentially give them a mental breakdown. Or have a mental breakdown as you try to learn the class.
What?
You'll be fine.